over 40, you're feeling stuck and you're willing to try anything, even minimalism. Well, we've got 5 tips for you that'll help you get out of that rut and live more intentionally. Let's take a look. Hello, everyone. I'm Ange.
I'm Sporty, and together we are Mostly Mindful,
where we encourage you to buy less, do more, and live simply and sustainably in the city.
And sometimes we also try and help you optimize your life.
Because why not?
So you'll wonder why we are presenting ourselves in a Zoom format this week. And I have been called away on a sort of semi-business trip. So we found ourselves in different cities when we were supposed to be shooting. So we're giving this a try to see if it works. And if you think it's okay, let us know.
And if you don't think it's okay, don't tell us, because you know what Thumper's mom said. If you can't say anything nice, don't say
anything at all.
We were in our early 40s when we decided to sell pretty much everything that we owned. We didn't realize it at the time, but we were deeply stuck in a rut.
Our lives revolved around going to work, coming home, paying off our debt, paying for all our stuff. We were up to our eyeballs in debt, very stressed and not happy at all.
We were pretty miserable. We didn't realize it at the time, but we were pretty miserable.
Yeah.
Selling almost everything was a huge turning point for us. It really changed everything and set us on a different path. For the whole backstory on how we came to selling everything, you can take a look at the TED talk that I gave after that all went down. And I'll leave a link to that in the description.
That said, you don't have to sell everything to experience the same benefits that we did.
Yeah, so please don't click off right now. We're not telling you to sell everything. We've got some amazing tips for you that don't include selling almost 90% of your stuff.
You don't have to sell everything. Don't sell.
Just letting you know.
Don't sell everything.
Don't sell. Don't sell
Please
everything.
Please don't sell everything. Sell everything. No, don't.
Don't, and it's not our fault if you do. Let's start by acknowledging the fact that stuff doesn't make you happy. I came across a study recently that said your social connections are the happiness equivalent of an extra almost 130. Why is that so funny, Sporty? It's 132,000 vegan doleros. I just wanted to make sure I had the numbers right. Okay, let's start with our 5 tips. And the reason that we've got these 5 tips, and in the order that we're going to give them to you in, is not because we suddenly came up with 5 tips after selling everything. Everything for us was a slow progress that took us a number of years. And now we figured out that it was actually 5 different things. So the tip number 1 is to declutter and downsize. Because that's what set us off on this path, is that we sold everything, which is a bit drastic, but stuff weighs you down. So if you've got clutter in your house, or you live in a lifestyle that's too big for your finances, then it's time to downsize.
Yeah, because clutter actually bogs you down. It creates this sort of underlying feeling of weight and overwhelm, that you kind of feel that something isn't right, but you can't exactly put your finger onto it.
Step number 1, declutter and downsize. Get yourself a smaller house, ditch all the stuff that you don't need.
Or you don't have to get yourself a smaller house. If you can, it's better. If you can't, just downsize your stuff.
Yeah, declutter your stuff. But the point is, if you're living in a big house that's thousands of square feet, and maybe there are only like 2 or 3 of you in that huge house, it is worth considering downsizing to a smaller place, because you'll reap a lot of benefits from doing that. It's cheaper, it's less space to clean, less to maintain, and that kind of thing. Okay, step number 1, we've covered. Declutter and downsize.
Step number 2, fix your finances for good. When we decided to ditch our clutter, we made more space for us to focus on sorting out our finances and getting out of debt. And that kind of in turn evolved into building up a nest egg and a retirement setup.
Our finances were in a mess when we sold our stuff. I remember we used to go to the ATM like this. Like you were so scared, you didn't know what was waiting for you. You know, we were so deep in overdraft that the salary would go in and it would just take us to zero. So with the help of with an accountant, we were able to figure out a way out of that debt hole.
Yeah.
So
someone to help us.
Yeah, I mean, first prize is if you can hire an accountant to help you, but if not, there are some amazing resources that you can find online. Again, I'll link those in the description, because once you've decluttered and downsized, the next thing is definitely to focus on your finances and get them in a straight stripe. You don't want to have debt. You definitely want savings in the bank for a rainy day. And then obviously you want a nice little nest egg so that you don't have to work when you're older. If you want to work, it's a choice. It's not a must.
So number 3 is downsizing your eating habits.
Yeah. What happened to us is we ended up adopting a whole food plant-based diet, because here's what happens when you adopt a minimalist lifestyle is when you're on that treadmill, you are so focused just on getting through the day and getting to work and paying off your debt and you know, paying your bills and that kind of thing, that you don't have time or space to think about other things. And I mean, we weren't particularly healthy at that point where we made the decision to downsize. Once you've got space and you've got rid of the clutter and your finances aren't as stressing you out as much, you can start thinking about other things. And this is how we ended up eating a more healthy diet, is because we had the space to start investigating and thinking, okay, you know, we're not eating well, we don't feel that great, what can we do? So tip 3 is to downsize your eating habits. Eat more whole food, plant-based. Even if you don't want to be completely vegan like we are, that's fine. Just focus on eating a healthier diet.
More plants.
Definitely more plants. Hang out in the fresh produce section rather than in the middle of the supermarket where all the processed junk is, because that's just not good for you.
Shop the perimeter.
Shop the perimeter. Shop the perimeter.
Shop the perimeter.
I think it's cheaper as well to eat more plants. Even, like I said, you don't have to be vegan, but follow the Blue Zones diet. They still occasionally eat a little bit of not all of them, some of them are vegetarian, but they'll include a little bit of meat or eggs or dairy into their diet. But it's the opposite from most Western cultures, where we tend to, the meat is the main focus on the plate and the vegetables are almost like garnish. With them, it's the opposite. So it'll be a huge plate of vegetables with a little bit of meat on the side. So I'll link to the Blue Zones as well. Very healthy lifestyle. We can learn a lot from them. Also, they are, just as a quick matter of interest, the Blue Zones, in case you haven't heard, I think there are 5 around the world, 5 or 7, I can't remember. And these are the longest lived, healthiest people. So you're talking where like reaching 100 years old is normal, and they're not rickety and in wheelchairs. They are still in their gardens, they're still cooking, they're active in their community. And it's largely, one part of it is because of how they eat. So
So tip number 4 is to ditch the habits that no longer serve you. Habits are really awesome when they work in your favor, like brushing your teeth, you know, when you're doing things that where the habit works for you. But we all have habits that don't serve us. Some examples are working too hard, or spending a lot of time scrolling on your phone, snacking in bed, procrastination, all those kind of things. So it's also a form of downsizing or decluttering. It's getting rid of habits that you don't need in your life.
I'd just like to say that sometimes habits can like run a little bit under the radar, because an obvious bad habit would be like smoking or drinking too much. But sometimes saying yes when you don't really have capacity, but you just want to please people, is also a habit that needs to go, because self-care is important. In fact, it's more important than it's ever been, really. And you know, that old that example that people often use, that they say in an airplane to put on your own oxygen mask before you help the person next to you. It's the same adage. You know, you have to take care of yourself. And as much as we love to help those around us, and we want to say yes when they ask us a favor, sometimes we literally don't have the capacity, and then saying yes is a habit that just doesn't serve us.
And then we move on to our last tip, which is liven up your lifestyle. So once you've decluttered and you've sorted out your finances, and you're eating, you've got more energy because you're eating well, and you've eradicated some of those habits that are probably also contributing to a lack of energy or motivation in your life, you'll have more time, and you'll be able to find fun things to do and fun people to hang out with.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've done like a few, I mean, they might not be the most exciting things, but we wouldn't have done them before when we were still in that stuck in the rut phase, you know, like where we decided to train for the Cape Town cycle tour on our foldies, and we ended up riding these hugely long distances every weekend in preparation, you know, and sometimes we will use the opportunity to live in different areas that we wouldn't normally have in the past, because, you know, we're able to work remotely as opposed to be stuck at jobs like we used to. But the one example that I found, and I included in the blog post that I shared on this, you know, to help you get out of your rut, is this couple that they also cycle, and they've been cycling for over 60 years. That's their fun thing. But I mean, it could also be like you take up dancing, or you take up a new sport. I know a friend of ours, when she turned 50, she started doing karate. I mean, you just need to not be afraid, because that's the other thing. Once you hit 40, I don't know, sometimes something a little bit weird happens, and you're stuck in this rut, and you can't think beyond your day to day. So look for fun things to do and get out of the box, not just out of the rut.
Yeah. And also, I just wanted to say that, you know, these are our 5 tips, and we've done them in order that kind of makes sense and worked for us. But the order is not set in stone. If you find yourself feeling the inspiration to sort out your diet first, then do that. Do what speaks to you and what inspires you.
Absolutely. So long as it's going to get you out of the rut and not feeling stuck, that's the main aim of this. So what we found in our own lives is, once we went through all these different stages, the 5 tips that we shared with you today, it was kind of as if our lives went from chaos to calm. You know, from being completely stressed out and unhappy and whatever. Now our happiness set point is happy. We're not reactive the way that we used to be. We're calm and centered, and life is pretty much good all the all the time. So, but we've given you the 5 steps may seem a little bit overwhelming. So just take it slowly. Like Sporty said, do it in the order that works for you. That said, my advice would be definitely to at least start with the decluttering and downsizing, because clutter has a way of bogging you down.
That's true.
You actually, you don't know until you've gotten rid of it, just how much it's holding you down and holding you back. So definitely start there and then move on from there. That would be our advice. So here's to getting out of the rut.
Which could be said for this video as well, not always shooting in the same format. So let's see how this works. And you can let us know in the comments below if you like this format, because maybe then we'll engineer some videos to be like this.
Exactly.
And as always, subscribe, notification bell, like, do all the things that good viewers do.
Exactly, because it helps us be kind viewers, because it helps us get in front of more like-minded people just like you. Just like you.
Hippie vibes from Cape Town.
From Gordons Bay.
I'm really in Cape Town. Like really, like Cape Town town.
I like to say Cape
Big
Town,
city.
We're in Gordons Bay. You can look on the map and see where that is.
Ange is in Gordons Bay. I'm in Cape.
Sporty showing off again. She's going to bring me presents from the big smoke.
Yes. Okay. Now we say goodbye.
Okay.
Bye, friends. Recording in progress.
Recording in progress.
So when you're talking schnips, look at the lens. We find ourselves in different parts of the world, and we are going to try and shoot this video via Zoom for you.
Okay. And I'm looking at the lens.
The lens.
The lens.
No,
hello.
That wasn't the lens.
Hello.
And here's another. Shall I put this on as a turban?
Hariba.
Haranda.
Or whatever you say when you're
Iba.
harassing. Yeah, when you're harassing bulls, which we would never do, because remember whiskey.
Yeah, the whiskey, side-eye whiskey.
Side-eye whiskey. Oh.
Myself.
Let's behave like 50-somethings, a little bit mature. Remember to look at the lens. Noises.
What she said. What she said.
What she said. What she said. This is so fun. You should do it more.
Might be a good video.
Yeah, it might just end up.
But number 4 is okay. Number 4 is liven up your lifestyle, baby.